Are you struggling to find delicious, nutritious meals that cater to your health needs? At Hearth Meals, we believe food is the best medicine. We offer premium, dietitian designed, and chef prepared meals tailored to address high cholesterol, hypertension, PCOS, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes. Healthy meals should be easy. Our meals are designed with the latest nutrition science, prepared ready to eat, and home delivered. Healthy meals should use real food. Our meals do not have additives or preservatives. We use organic, whole ingredients. Healthy meals can strengthen your body. Our clients experience several health benefits after receiving our meals while managing their health conditions. We deliver across Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C. Sign up today at www.hearthmeals.com using the promo code wellness01 for 25% off your first week of meals. That's promo code wellness01 for 25% off your first week. Health results are not guaranteed.
Meet your new go-to for a fresh and inclusive approach to health.
Wellness Rebranded is the pod where a dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist combine perspectives to help you redesign your relationship with food, fitness, and your feelings.
Whether we're serving up juicy stories, breaking down the latest research, or dropping practical tips, we'll leave you informed, inspired, and ready to take health-promoting action.
We get you because we are you.
We've joined forces because we know that health isn't one-dimensional, and neither are you.
Tune in for real talk that cuts through the wellness and diet culture hype. Stay for the laughs, the insights, and the feel-good vibes.
So I've always been wondering if we can reduce our sugar intake while still following an intuitive eating lifestyle. And should we even consider reducing our sugar intake? Is that okay? Or is it something we should really think about?
Sugar. Honey, honey. Sorry.
Yes,
I have
another
to.
good source of sugar.
I have to.
Tara, that's an awesome question. Can you be mindful or even reduce your sugar intake and still be aware of your relationship with food, eat intuitively, and do you even have to? I feel like this is a topic that comes up a lot. To be clear, when we talk about this, we're really getting into the gentle nutrition principle of intuitive eating. And my answer is yes, you can be mindful of and reduce your sugar intake and still eat intuitively. Yes, you can do it and still be mindful or promote having a happy, healthy relationship with food. And it's probably a good idea for a lot of us to reduce our added sugar intake, which is a really key distinction.
Because have you guys seen also a really intense campaign against sugar?
Yes, if you listen to diet culture, sugar's toxic and evil and the cause of every problem out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like that messaging. I think you guys have heard me say it a million times. All foods can fit in a health promoting diet, including sugar. When we talk about sugar, we're basically talking about carbs, right? Carbs are sugar. Our bodies need them. We need especially carbs from fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And that doesn't mean that we can't ever just have fun foods that include sugar.
Elizabeth, can you talk a little bit about the difference between added sugar and regular sugar?
Yes. So natural sugar is sugar that's found naturally in foods and we're talking in dairy products, right? Milk has natural sugar in it, yogurt, all those things have natural sugar, fruits, vegetables, grains, pasta, rice, they're all have some forms of sugar in them, carbs. Added sugars are the sugars that get added to food either in processing by the manufacturer at the table or when you're cooking. Added sugars have been linked with all sorts of negative health outcomes. To be honest, I don't know if controversial is the right word, but it's an area of the research that there seems to be a lot of conflicting opinions around. But I think if you look on the whole, the biggest body of research seems to indicate that dietary patterns that are high in added sugars are linked with increased incidence of, for example, cardiovascular disease or different other types of illnesses. So natural sugar, I always tell my clients, we don't really need to worry about natural sugars at all, because those come in foods that have vitamins and minerals and fiber and phytonutrients and all sorts of other things that are great. If you are concerned about blood sugar, maybe you have prediabetes or diabetes, then you want to learn how to eat all sugars, right? Whether natural or added, in ways that are balanced and can support, maintaining a healthy blood sugar, but you still can eat those foods. We don't have to cut them out altogether.
So foods that don't have added sugars, excuse my ignorance, is like fruits, for example.
Correct.
What else?
Any kind of grain, any kind of plain dairy, like when you drink a glass of milk, that has natural sugar in it. But it doesn't have, unless it's chocolate milk, say, or strawberry milk, then there's been sugar added to it.
Right.
And those are the sugars. So fortunately, it used to be even more confusing because you used to have to basically do math on the nutrition facts label to figure out how many grams of added sugar were in a food. That was super complicated.
No, don't put me down for math.
That was complicated. A lot of people were not going to do that, right? Now, luckily, on the nutrition facts label, it clearly says total carbohydrates and then added sugar.
Yeah.
And you can see how many grams. So again, like, I don't want to scare anyone off of sugar. It's okay to have, some sugar in your diet, but if you're getting a lot of added sugar, which is easy to do because it's in things that maybe you wouldn't expect it to be in, like tomato sauces or different sauces, or things that, we generally think of as more nutrient dense, like yogurt, or even some cereals, for example, can contain a lot of added sugar, and that you may want to be mindful about that. So the question is, how do you do that and still eat intuitively? Can you, and can you do it without harming your relationship with food?
I'm waiting. Okay, I want to know, but hold on one second. Two questions come to mind. What about people like me who love sugar?
What about you? I like sugar too. It tastes good.
Me
Like
too.
a chocolate cake, like a donut.
Oh, have you guys had Beatty's chocolate cake from the Barefoot Contessa? If
What?
you have never had this
No.
cake, you need to
I've
make it.
never heard of this.
What is
OMG, I'm going to make you this chocolate. It will change your life. It's like,
this? Is this a brand? I don't
No,
even
no,
know
no,
what
you have-
language you're...
you have to make it. It's a recipe from Barefoot Contessa, and it's called Beatty's chocolate cake.
Link
And
that recipe in the show notes.
OMG, guys,
But
it's
Elizabeth,
really good
there's
chocolate cake.
something you need to know about me, right? I love chocolate cake, but I'm very picky.
Me too. So I'll tell you
So
about
if
this
your
cake.
chocolate cake sucks, I'm gonna say it.
Okay, you
'cause-
can tell me if it sucks, but you would be the only person ever to have said that. It's
I'm
moist.
not at all picky with cake, so I'm sure I will love it.
No, with chocolate cake I am, because
Yeah, this
okay,
cake, like, it's very moist cake. The icing is so creamy and chocolatey and delicious. It's
Can you
like
make it
the
and invite
perfect
us?
chocolate cake. Yes,
Okay, make it and invite us to your house. So okay,
we
so
digress.
You digress.
I did, but she brought up chocolate cake, and it's like, you can't talk about chocolate cake without that.
Let me say something real quick. I love this conversation about sugar versus added sugar because I think that diet culture has got us so messed up
yeah.
that I'll illustrate this point with an example. Years ago, I was at a Weight Watchers meeting before I discovered the whole weight neutral paradigm, right? Anti-diet culture paradigm. And they had just changed the rules so that now fruit was unlimited. It was 0 points. And I'm telling you, there were 30 women in that room, and it was an uproar about how now they could eat all the bananas they want and they're all going to gain weight because of it. And they were absolutely terrified of it. And the instructor looked around the room and basically was like, hey, nobody is sitting here because they ate too many bananas.
Oh, I hate that response anyway, but
Yes, it's so problematic.
yes. And it is a question that I get weekly, but what about fruit? Doesn't it have too much sugar? And yeah, it's because diet culture has frankly messed us all up and how we think about it. And so yeah, really emphasizing natural sugar comes with usually a lot of other great nutrients that we
Fiber.
need. Added sugar, we don't have to stay away from it completely at all, but it may be something that you want to be mindful of. But here's where it gets tricky. You guys ready for this?
Yes.
Ready.
If you're at the beginning of your intuitive eating journey, you don't want to start out being mindful and cutting back on your sugar intake necessarily. Now, again, if somebody has like a specific health condition, diabetes, like that's a separate conversation. But for generally healthy individuals who are really working hard to heal their relationship with food, they're going to hear, and we have episodes about making peace with food, giving yourself unconditional permission to eat and enjoy the foods without guilt. And so, how the heck does that go together with being mindful of your sugar intake? And my response is it doesn't actually. It would be difficult to do both of the things at the same time. So, what I want to talk about is my recommendation is basically before you consider making any changes to your sugar intake, to consider your relationship with food. And it matters because, as we talk about all the time, it's part of your health and well-being, right? But also, if your relationship with food needs healing, being mindful of your sugar intake is going to be in direct kind of opposition to giving yourself unconditional permission to eat and enjoy the sugar at that point in your journey. So so how do you do that? Like, first I would ask yourself, or if you've been on an intuitive eating journey and you're like, am I ready to do this? Here's some things that can help you figure it out. So the first one, assess your feelings around food. Do you feel stressed, anxious, or guilty when you think about eating something sweet? Do you feel like you need to kind of are you uncomfortable eating them in front of other people because you fear you may be judged about it? Or do you find yourself still thinking sugar's bad and, protein is good? If so, then probably that is a sign that your relationship with food needs healing, and this isn't the place where you'd want to start. I would also encourage you to consider your rules around food. Do you have a lot of rigid rules about when, what, how much you're allowed to eat? Are you negotiating with yourself? Well, I can have cookies, but only if I go to the gym. Or, when you break the rules that you've set for yourself around your eating, does that trigger a lot of negative self-talk? If so, further feedback that you may need to heal your relationship with food. And by the way, I actually have a really cool resource around this that I would love to offer people. It's a free guide that I've put together called Uncover Your Invisible Diet. If you're not sure about your relationship with food, or you're not sure if you have a lot of food rules, or if you're maybe secretly or unintentionally dieting, go to the show notes and download this free guide. It's a really great resource that's relatively new. I don't know why I've never offered it here before.
I don't think I've ever heard
I
you
know, I
mention
frankly
it.
forget about it, but it's a great resource. So download that. It's going to help you assess if you're ready for this gentle nutrition step.
I also love that resource because your relationship with food is not like good or bad. It's a continuum.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, there are days when your relationship is a little bit better, and hopefully, we're always pushing the needle to be better and better. But there's also times in our lives where I feel like we backslide a little bit. At least I know I do, because I've been working on my relationship with food for a long time. But there are definitely things where I'm like, oh, yeah, I definitely think protein is, better than sugar.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's maybe not the right way to think about that.
Yeah, because diet culture is so loud. It's actually
Yeah.
why I put that guide together, is it is so common when I'm working with people. I can be working with people for months. And then, through the curriculum that I put together for them, through our conversations, they're like, wow, Elizabeth, I really felt like I'd broken up with all my food rules. And now I'm realizing there's all these ways that I've been sort of invisibly dieting. And
Yeah.
and it's hard to know because so many of the behaviors are so normalized in diet culture that we don't think of them as that's what we're doing, like restricting or hyper monitoring. So that's why I put it together. So it really is a great resource. Go ahead and download it. I want to give you a couple of other signs. Observe your eating patterns. How do you behave around sugary, sweet things? Like, do you feel peaceful and in control? Do you trust yourself to keep them in your house? Or is it still like, oh, yeah, that's that forbidden food that I try not to buy them because I just would eat the whole bag kind of thing?
I hear that a lot from my clients.
Yeah. Reflect on your hunger and fullness cues. Do you trust them, or do you feel connected to your hunger and fullness cues? If not, then again, those are all signs. Like, go back to some of the other principles of intuitive eating before you tackle this issue of, can you be more mindful or even perhaps reduce your added sugar intake? Check in with your values. Like, is that aligned with your health goals and how you want to take care of your body, right? Don't you get to decide for yourself. You have complete autonomy over that. So do you guys have any thoughts or questions on that? Hey there, it's Elizabeth. I want to take a quick break from this conversation to let you know that Tara, Maria, and I personally read every single email and DM we receive from you, our Wellness Rebranded listeners. If something in this conversation today is resonating with you, please drop us a note and let us know. We would love to hear from you and we will respond. I also want to tell you about a really cool program that I have coming up called Nourished and Thriving. It's a 6-week group coaching program to help you take action on the things we talk about each week. To begin redesigning your relationship with food, over those 6 weeks, I'm going to help you learn how to connect with your body and its innate eating cues, how to build self-trust with yourself and food, and how to develop a healthier mindset around food. The program will kick off in mid-November and run straight through the holiday season. It's perfect for you if you've been looking for a way to dip your toes into intuitive eating, if you want to get started with some of the key concepts and could benefit from some guidance and support. If you would also like support to help you make more mindful and intentional and, of course, guilt-free choices throughout the holiday season so that you can step into 2025 not with another diet or food regret from the holidays, but a more peaceful, confident relationship with food, this program is for you. Visit elizabethharrisnutrition.com/nourished-thriving or simply visit the link in the show notes to learn more. I would really love to see you in that program.
The thought I'm having is how much that changes when you have young kids at home. Because if it would be my husband and I alone at home, my relationship with sugar specifically will be different.
Oh, tell me about
Is it
that.
that
Now I'm very
yes.
curious.
Well, I get anxious about sugar and my kids.
In
that diet culture thinking way.
I
that-
struggle with that too.
But not only that, it even comes as a guilt trip as a mom that I should be feeding them vegetables and fruits and not, the Twinkies or whatever it is that they like. It's not Twinkies, it has another name for it. But anyway.
Yeah,
And
really,
then
really common.
Yes, it's like I feel like a bad mother many times because look at them, they're always, they always want the sweet thing. Or if I want the sweet thing when we go to a restaurant, it's like, okay, maybe I don't have it. Yes, I struggle with
Yeah,
it.
so that is, and I was, by the way, full disclosure, that's how I was when my kids were smaller. I didn't know about intuitive eating. I didn't know about all the things. Like, we have episodes on this. We probably should do another one, but that is very telling about areas of your own relationship with
Yes.
food that maybe need a little bit of love.
But who hasn't gone? I was also thinking, listening to you, when you go to a party where there's food and then there's friends, or you go to a restaurant with friends, there's always one or two that are gonna say something like, "Oh no, no, no dessert for me because I'm, watching my weight," or there's the dessert table at the place, and it's like the caution table,
Yeah.
and we connect as women with each other sometimes on these kind of comments
Yeah.
of how much
Yeah,
are we
so
eating
common.
depending on our weight, and you want to let other women know that you're watching your
Yeah,
just
almost
not
like
to be
it's some sort
judged.
of
Yes.
civic responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm not eating that because I know I need to lose a couple. So
Yes.
everybody be proud of me.
Or you don't want to put it on your plate. I don't care, to be honest with you, but many people, it's like you don't want to put it on your plate because, oh, you're gonna eat all that. Heck yes.
People are going to be judging me.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So super common, right? We probably have all felt like that at one point or another, and it directly stems from diet culture,
Yeah.
right? That is not tuning into your own pleasure and satisfaction and values and body needs and all the things, right? It's coming from external, the pressure from diet culture. So, and I think with your, just to like go back to what you were saying about kids, it's like, again, like we're given the message from diet culture or society that, oh yeah, to be a good mom, you don't feed your kids sugar, you give them fruits and vegetables, right? Or these perfectly curated, beautiful, whatever meals. But we all know, and we advocate for all the time, your relationship with food and your body is part of your health. We want to set our kids up to grow
Yes.
with food and body confidence and to take into account their mental and emotional well-being, which, how we present sugar or any kind of food is definitely going to play a part in that. So just to like zoom out and look, it's not only about the nutrients they're putting in their body,
Yeah.
but like, supporting them to have a healthy relationship with food, to protect them against some of the pressures that, and I'm not, they're going to get it elsewhere, and it's certainly not the only factor, but to do what we can to protect them against falling into disordered eating patterns or whatever. So it's a delicate balance of getting kids, just like adults, to think about sugar neutrally, that it's no different it means nothing about them if they're a person eating a cupcake or a person eating carrots, but also to give them meals that will nourish their bodies, and then sometimes foods that will nourish their souls. And so there is a delicate dance, and I do think we should do another probably episode about that, but I wanted to at least validate what you were saying.
Yeah.
Maria, I feel that way too. I pack my son a bento box every day for lunch, right? And I usually pack them all on Sundays. So like Sunday night, I'll just pack 5 days worth of lunches and be done. And this week I've had like chicken, I had some noodles, I had some like cheese and crackers, I had watermelon, and I had sugar snap peas. So I was feeling really proud of myself, like, oh, this is a pretty balanced like lunch. Every single day so far. It's Friday, so maybe I'll get lucky today. He's come home with like none of the watermelon or sugar snap peas eaten. And I'm like, please stop wasting food. But also, like, the mom guilt does feel like, oh my gosh, she's not eating any fruits and veggies at lunch. Of course, we eat them throughout the day, the rest of the time, but like, it's a struggle for sure. Like, you're not alone in that.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you watch, he is eating watermelon and snap peas and other foods at other points, right?
Yes.
But we feel the pressure, like, oh, but he's got to be eating it at lunch,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yes.
that's what I'm supposed to do, and I want to make sure. And we, the reality is we can't force kids to eat or not eat any food, right? We can just keep exposing them to it and know that kids' intake regulates over the course of days and weeks, not
Yes.
individual meals.
I was thinking of you saying that last night when he ate like $8 worth of grapes in about an hour.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
It was like a huge clamshell and it was just like gone. And I was like, well, I guess it was a grape day and not a watermelon snap pea day.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I feel like we've got a really good foundation around that. I do have some tips for people who are at the gentle nutrition phase, who feel like they have a healthy relationship with food and feel like, you know what, maybe I would like to be more mindful of added sugar. What are some practical ways that I can do that? Should I share them?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
All right, I'm going to preface this. I wrote an entire blog article about it with lots and lots of tips. I'm not going to go through them all here. So anyone who wants all of them, go to my website and go to my blogs and read the whole thing. But I'm going to give you guys some highlights.
Girl, you've been working hard.
Yeah.
Zero stuff on my
Maria.
website.
Listen.
That's funny. I got lots of great resources on my website, actually. There's tons of
Oh, it's
blog
called,
articles.
and it's called the Learning Center tab on her website.
Yeah, that's
FYI.
true, actually. How'd you know that?
Because you had me go.
Oh, right. You were looking at the
You
podcast.
forced me to look at you.
Okay, so my first one might surprise you because it's not about cutting back at all. Want to guess what it is?
Adding?
Yeah. Choose whole foods often.
Okay.
Love it.
right? Instead of like going straight to how am I going to cut anything out, just go to how can I add in more, more fruits, more
Right.
veggies, more whole grains, more lean
Mhm.
proteins, more healthy fats. And let that be your
Mhm.
first mindset
I
of
love that.
what can I add to my meals, right?
Mhm.
Because not
Yes.
that we're trying to crowd out per se the other ones, but the reality is a lot of times people are relying on sugar or without even realizing it because their body
You're
needs
missing,
that
yeah.
energy and they're not eating like a balanced meal or enough
Mhm.
of a meal or they're forgetting to eat or so
I feel like though, even if you eat an entirely balanced meal with your protein, fats, and carbs, and vegetables and fruits and whatever, there's always like the dessert stomach. So
yeah.
even if you're
Separate,
full,
yes.
it's like you can still fit it though.
Well, yes, I agree with that. Sometimes, sometimes there's room. Sometimes there just
Yeah.
isn't. If you're really listening, but no, I totally, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. But I'm talking about the people who they're like, "Oh, Elizabeth, I just like find myself raiding the pantry and
Mhm.
eating all the snacks and sugary foods at night, and then when I get to talking with them, they're not actually eating enough at their meals during the
Right.
day."
Yes.
And when they do,
I'm like that.
then naturally, without trying to do anything, they end up eating less of those foods at night because
Mhm.
they're just more satiated.
Which
Yes.
reminds me of our previous episode on cravings. So
Yeah.
if you guys haven't listened to that, go back and find that episode on cravings related to what we're talking about.
Yeah. My next suggestion, start using the food labels as your friend. Again, it's not like that, blaring food policing thing, but you if you're choosing between two products, say there's two yogurts that um
Look.
you like and you can eyeball the added sugar if one of them has less
Mhm.
and it's not going to take away from your experience of eating it or send you into a restrictive
From
mindset.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
then choose the one that has less added sugar. If you're choosing between two salad dressings and one has less sugar and you like
Mhm.
that one, go with that one. So look for that sort of gentle nutrition boosting
Mhm.
swap that you probably won't even really notice.
Mhm.
And also, in case anyone was wondering, on the nutrition label, sugar's listed as grams, but most of us don't really think in grams. Maybe you do, Maria.
I do on
Yeah.
kilometers.
Yes, yeah. But us who were born and raised in the US probably don't.
Mhm.
So 4 grams of sugar is the equivalent of 1 teaspoon.
Ah, that's good to know.
Yeah. Another one, check your beverages. I mean, beverages are a place where added sugars can sneak in pretty easily. I don't want to
Mhm.
scare anyone from, uh, not having a beverage you enjoy, but if you normally get like 3 pumps, maybe you can get 2 at Starbucks and sort of gradually see if you can get your taste buds accustomed to just a little bit less. If you are somebody who makes like lemonade or sweet tea, maybe you can gradually just add a little bit less added sugar. Maybe dilute juice. So it's like half juice and half water.
Mhm.
Those are some easy ways to just sort of get our taste buds a little bit less accustomed. But again, only if you're coming from a solid foundation of having a healthy relationship with food and it's not going to send you into a restrictive pattern. It's sort of the difference where we talk about in anything with gentle nutrition. Is it coming from a place of self care? Or is it
Mhm.
coming from a place of restriction? And you can make the same choice, right? Like I could choose not to eat dessert tonight because I'm genuinely full and satisfied. And it's just sort of, I don't really need or want it. And I am trying to be mindful of, just whatever, what I'm putting into my body. And that comes from a very gentle place of self-care. It's a choice. I know that if I did have it, it would be 100% okay. I wouldn't cause me to feel guilty. I wouldn't be stressed out that it
Right.
means I'm automatically, gonna hate what the scale says tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
it's just a self-care choice. I don't really
Mhm.
want or feel like I need that in my body right now.
Mhm.
And then another night I could just as easily have it and it's fine. Or I could be like, oh no, I'm not eating dessert because I'm watching my weight and I don't eat sugar and sugar is bad for you. And if I did eat it, I was going to feel guilty and I'm going to feel like I'm ruining all my progress, and then I'm going to open the floodgates and I'm never going to stop eating sugar, right? Like one is restrictive and deprivation, and the other one is just a gentle self-care choice.
I agree. Deal.
Yeah. Let me see if there's any others.
Well, you think about that. Let's have our listeners to be witnesses that you promised to make that chocolate cake for me. And I'm going to come back
And
here
me.
and say, you can come if you want, but I don't want to share. And then come back here and say if you thought it was actually a good cake or not. Okay, now I'll give
Okay.
your other.
There's lots of specific ones here, but I'm just going to go with like a more broad one. I teach my clients to walk their choices backwards. And what I mean by that is ask some questions, always from the foundation of 100% I can have this food right now without guilt, without shame. That's the foundation. Then the question is, do I really want it right now? Right? Like, yeah, maybe it sounds good, but do I really want it right now? Is it going to make me feel the way that I want? And if so, how can I eat it in a way that feels good? Right? Maybe having half the chocolate cake, which I might want to because it's so dang yummy, it isn't actually going to feel very good. But having a piece of it, or having even just maybe a few bites right now, it is a way that I can eat it that would feel good. Or maybe it wouldn't feel good to eat it right now, but I'm going to know that I can have it tomorrow in a way that feels good. And if you do it from that place of full permission, it's so much easier to actually tune into and honor your body, versus when we're coming from the restrictive mindset of diet culture, where you're like, just going to eat it. I'm going to eat the whole thing because I don't know when I'm ever going to get it again. And I promised myself I wasn't eat it. And I just want to do it quickly and get it over with.
Yeah.
You know,
Get it out of the house.
yeah. So it's a really, really different mindset.
Right. Yes.
How's this all landing for you guys?
It sounds good to me.
Good.
The importance of paying attention
Yeah.
to how we relate to food, like our thoughts behind that. Just that last phrase that you said, I think it's important. And
Yeah.
For me, I feel like I have a couple big takeaways from this. And one is like, this is not for you if your relationship with food isn't in a good place yet. Like working on that
And
first
no judgment
matters.
if it isn't.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Like totally okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're all working on it all the time, I feel like.
Yeah. The practice.
You know, but secondly, I love talking about the difference between added sugars and natural sugars. I think that gets really confused. And then knowing that added sugars are okay, we just have to like add other stuff in, I feel like is really helpful too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that
it's
we
not
don't-
like
it's not
never
all-
have
it's
sugar
not
again.
all or nothing. We don't have to get
Yeah.
rid of them completely. And it may be helpful for your health and well-being to be mindful of how much of it you're having.
Yeah.
And how does it make you feel?
Yeah. And
Mhm.
being mindful is so much easier once you have a healthy relationship with food. So if you're out there listening, if you like this episode and want more of my specific tips for, okay, I think I'm ready for this gentle nutrition step, how do I start reducing it and do it safely for my relationship with food, go check out that blog article. Don't forget, if that invisible diet resource sounded intriguing to you, you can download that in the show notes as well. And we would really love it if you would share this episode or any episode of Wellness Rebranded that you love with your friend, with a coworker, with your family. The more hands we can get the podcast into, the more we can spread the message. First of all, we can help push back against toxic diet culture and get a healthier message out there. But also it helps us make better and better content, get better and better guests, and bring you more of what you love.
And if you also want to leave a review, those are my favorite.
I do love reading
I
them.
know, me too.
Same.
So just take 2 seconds of your day, leave us a review, because we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna fill our hearts, mind, and it's our fuel too to keep going. And know that there's many of you out there going through this movement with us.
And also, if you want to share this episode with all of your friends, throw it up on your social media and tag us. We would love it.
Until next time.
Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara DeLeon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.